Hi everybody, it's Frankenbelly, aka Misty. I'm doing my 10-year Surgiversary update video. Some people follow me on YouTube, some people follow me on WordPress, some people are in my support group on Facebook. So some of you may know my backstory and some of you may not. You may be just looking, thinking about going into gastric bypass. So here's a little bit of overview. So I had my initial gastric bypass on December 18th, 2006. I did really well for about 4 years. I lost all my weight really rapidly quick. Probably less than a year I lost 142 pounds. About 4 years out, I started to have little complications, things that I was aware of that could happen. I had a hernia repair, a bowel obstruction, and then developed severe anemia. Anemia that cannot be treated by pills. I was taking my daily multivitamins religiously, and my body stopped absorbing, so I had to start taking infusions. I then had another hernia repair, partial bowel obstruction. 2 years later, 2012. 2013, I developed severe dumping after eating anything. This was not sweets. This was protein and vegetables that I dumped off. I would dump off every meal, and then I would go into postperiodontal hypoglycemia about an hour later. And it was a vigorous cycle every time I ate. This led me to having a gastric bypass reverse in 2013. It was hard to fight to get one, but finally my labs had started to tank, and I skated down from 142 pounds to 116 in a matter of 2 months. And so mine was a life or death situation. After the gastric bypass reverse, it messed me up so bad that the gallbladder had to be pulled because it was full of sludge a year later. Then I had another hernia repair to the area of where the initial gastric bypass was. So you can see I have had 8 major surgeries in 10 years. I have had over 30 procedures, meaning EGDs, UGIs, CT scans, MRIs, pretty much anything you can think of. And hundreds of tests. So it has not been an easy journey by any means. A lot of people think, oh, you have weight loss surgery, you're doing it the easy way. It's not easy. So now that the difference from my 9-year video and my 10-year video is at 9 years I was doing pretty well. I thought after my reverse, about a year later, I discovered that I was diagnosed with gastroparesis. Now, this is diagnosed by having a gastric emptying study done, and my stomach was taking about 19 hours to digest food, and this, I could say, could be blamed because of all the stomach surgeries I've had. Caused nerve damage to my stomach. So when they put me back together, my stomach never pumped properly again because I have so much cutting and scarring from all these surgeries that I was probably doomed from the start to get gastroparesis. And then later on in 2014, my postperiodontal hypoglycemia came back for some reason. So this year has been a real challenge as far as I have kind of progressed backwards. My hypoglycemia has become more severe again. I do live on a diet that is sugar-free, very low carb, and vegetables, and it's not very pleasant, but it keeps me so I'm not having daily lows. I'm having like every couple weeks a severe low that I'm able to treat with peanut butter. Now, I do go to Stanford. I do have a really good team of doctors now, and the endocrinologist is really, they're just really baffled because most of their patients that have had gastric bypass reverses do not get postperiodontal hypoglycemia back. So they're really confused on why there's a few patients like me that it has returned. But hopefully I will be getting some testing done there before we move, and it will hopefully give them a better idea if I am in the same category as somebody that, say, that hasn't been reversed. They're working really hard on this hormone blocker, trying to get it FDA approved, and it has been shown to block hypoglycemia in bariatric patients. And one other really great thing, my endocrinologist told me that she just got back from a huge conference. A lot of people don't know this, but hypoglycemia in bariatric patients has been an issue for over 10 years. A lot of doctors don't talk about it. A lot of doctors don't tell you it can happen, or they say, oh, maybe a 1% chance. They're finding out now it's 30% or higher chance of getting this. It is the #1 weight loss surgery to take away diabetes, which is awesome. I didn't have diabetes before I had the surgery, but they have now declared it as of 2 weeks ago as being a rare medical condition caused by bariatric surgery. And boy, does that make me happy. It makes me so happy because you have to fight doctors, bariatric doctors, so hard because they try to think that this stuff cannot be linked to that bariatric surgery they gave you. So that was kind of good to hear. A lot of the bigwig doctors that are at these big, huge universities doing studies on patients like us are getting stuff pushed through. This medication hopefully will be pushed through by 2019. I know they're already pushing it in Europe. So that's good news. On my gastroparesis front, it kind of plays with the hypo, so it's like a catch-2 for me. My doctor put me out of work for a year, so I'm looking at trying to adjust back to that. You know, I had came so far at trying to fix things that I realize and accept now that I can't fix, that are caused from, you know, making the decision to have the gastric bypass. That's why I always tell everyone you need to really research which surgery you're going to have, and you know, don't just look like what can happen a week out. You need to look at what can happen years out. So where I'm at with the gastroparesis now is my team of doctors at Stanford are going to put 2 feeding tubes in. This was really hard for me to grasp in the beginning because, as you know, most of us have. I was always an emotional eater. We have ties to food, so knowing that you're 36 years old and can maybe never ever eat again if this works, it messes with your head a little bit. But after seeing the nutritionist, I understand a little better. So I'm going to have a tube put into my stomach. I'm going to have a tube put into my intestine, and then I'm going to try these tubes and see which of them can maybe help symptoms, versus if one's helping the hypoglycemia, it can take it away, hopefully. That would be a miracle. Or if one can help the gastroparesis. So the only way to find out is to put 2 in versus 1, and it'll be 1 surgery instead of versus 2 more surgeries. So I'm just waiting to get a date. I've already signed for everything, and basically I will get 1,000 calories at overnight while I sleep, which is good for nutrition too, because my body just has to be lacking when, you know, you're just living on meat and vegetables and you can't really have anything else. So the goal is more or less the feeding tubes to help control symptoms and help get nutrients into my body. I also have had tons of issues, so I'm going to be having a hysterectomy at the beginning of the year. So another year of some surgeries for me, but I have acceptance now. I think I've came to the point where I know that the gastroparesis, I know that the postperiodontal or nesbioblastis hypoglycemia, they're both the same. They're here. They're not going nowhere because treatments are not good for these conditions. So if you're thinking about gastric bypass, do your research. If people ask me now if I recommend it, no, I don't really recommend it. I say, you know, if you have serious issues like severe diabetes and stuff, yeah, it probably would work for you. It would probably cure that. But I think there's much safer weight loss surgeries out there now versus gastric bypass. And I think that, you know, you need to advocate for your own health, because when you start having issues, a lot of these bariatric doctors, yeah, they'll drop you. I had to go to several, you know, to the point of almost dying in 2013. You really have to push and push and push to get them to listen sometimes, because they don't want to admit that something is going wrong with one of their patients, especially somebody that's considered a successful patient like me, as far as being able to keep my weight off and maintained all these years. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I know I'm going to have a busy next couple months. Also going to have a move coming up next year, which I'm really excited for. My hope is to get into Johns Hopkins. Johns Hopkins has an awesome gastroparesis unit and an awesome, you know, study research places that have more options. So I wish you all well. I know it's almost the holidays. I hope you guys have happy holidays and everybody is doing well. And you can always go over to my blog, which is in the life of my Frankenbelly at wordpress.com. I don't update it as much as I used to, just because things have been so crazy this last year, but I do try to update it. And we also have the support group on Facebook that's called Gastric Bypass Takedowns and Reverse Support, and that is there for anybody with complications after gastric bypass and anybody that's looking at getting a reversal or has questions or has had a reversal. Come on over to the page and we'll work together at supporting each other. Okay, see y'all later. Bye.